Hello and thank you for joining me in this Mind Mastery video. I think that asking ourselves what is it that we truly want is one of the most important questions we can ask ourselves. And it probably belongs to this category of big questions, such as what is the meaning of life, what is our purpose here? Because I think that to truly find out what is it that we want from life, from ourselves, from other people, we have to go a little bit deeper beyond this mere level of, for example, material possessions or simply satisfying our needs. And I don't think there is one approach that basically fits everyone, every single individual, because we are all different. We work differently. We have different personality styles. And although on the surface level, we obviously have similar needs, like we need food and water, and we need to sleep, and so on and forth. On this deeper level, there are so many differences that it's obviously quite difficult to find the approach that fits each and every person. So perhaps some people find it easy to simply say, okay, I want this and that from life. And they can be very confident about the approach and the answer. But maybe for some other people, answering this question isn't so easy because there are so many things to consider. A part of, taking into consideration your needs, your basic physiological needs, your needs for basically resources and money and taking care of yourselves. There are also things to consider like actualizing your skills and potential and finding this meaning of life that is so unique to yourself that you basically have a reason to get up every morning. And usually having this reason, having this meaning will provide you with this motivation, with the certainty that you know where you're going and you know what you want to strive towards. Some people perhaps call it flourishing, which is basically a mental state where you have satisfied all of your basic needs and you don't have to worry about this basic needs, although obviously you're still making sure that all these needs are satisfied. But when you're flourishing, you are striving towards this higher needs, towards this higher purpose that you've set up for yourself. So perhaps it could be a path of self-development. Perhaps it could be a path of, learning new skills or self-expression and creativity. And basically, engaging in something that is not only valuable to yourself, but also to other people. So I think that psychologists have been asking themselves for quite some time now, what is it that makes people flourish? What is it that gets them from this state of merely living day by day, going through various routines and satisfying their needs, to this state of striving towards these higher goals, towards this higher purpose and meaning of life? So I think that's something to consider as well when you're asking yourself this question of what is it that you want in life or in general. Some people perhaps find it easy to start from finding out what is it that they don't want. I think in many respects, and it certainly has been easy for me to start from this direction, defining what you don't want is a good starting point, because by making this distinction, by making clear to yourself that, okay, that's not the experience that I want to have. That's not the future I want to have. It's much easier to define what you want, because in many cases, although probably it's not applicable to all cases, what you want will be exactly the opposite of what you don't want. Again, it's probably not applicable to all cases because perhaps you want completely different thing, unrelated to things that you don't want. So defining these negative possibilities, negative probabilities, if you like, or negative future is a good starting point because it will help you to learn more about yourself and understand yourself better. For example, why is it that you don't want certain thing? If you start inquiring into this negative statements, if you like, it could be much easier to discover what is it that you want, what is it that you value in life, because usually things that you don't want are in conflict with what you value. So that leads us to the next approach that we can take, which can help us to define what we want in life. And obviously that's finding out our values, finding out what is it that we find important in life. What is it that gives us this unique experience of feeling like you have a purpose, that you want to strive towards something meaningful. And obviously there are many different ways to approach this task of finding out your values. You can simply start by being mindful of your everyday experiences. Try to find out what is it that kind of makes you tick, something that fills you with not only these pleasant feelings, but also with this sense of meaning, something that feels so important that you want to have more of this in your life. For example, you might value creativity. So the more you learn about creativity, the more you can understand how to apply this value in your life, so you can surround yourself with this value that is so important for you, that life without it wouldn't have any sense. So I know it sounds simple, and actually maybe it is simple, but we like to complicate certain things and search for solutions that are more complicated than they should be in practice. And obviously another approach to finding out your values is taking various questionnaires, completing various surveys that will help you to kind of organize your thoughts, organize your priorities, and obviously help you to learn more about yourself. Now, the last point I want to make about finding out what you want and inquiring deeper into this question is basically experimenting with different experiences. Some people might take an approach of finding meaning, finding satisfaction, and pursuing pleasure in this hedonistic values. Some other people might prefer to take this eudaimonic approach to their goals and values in life, and engage in different activities that, make them feel like they have a mastery over their environment, that they are actualizing their potential and they are learning new skills. So there are obviously different approaches to this question. And again, each person is different, so there's no approach that fits all individuals at once. But I think that we shouldn't rush with answering this question. I mean, there's no pressure, there's no rush, there's no people pressuring us to answer it straight away. And I think that to fully answer the question of what is it that you want, it might probably take at least your whole life to learn this specific thing that brings your life meaning, because we're in a constant state of developing, constant state of becoming. So obviously at some point in your life it will be much easier to answer these questions, but generally knowing what you want isn't something that can be answered within, 1 hour, let's say, because it takes experience and practice and experimenting with different ideas and experiences in your life in order to truly find out what your attitude to certain experiences is. Are these experiences are in agreement with your values or not? And whether you feel like these experiences are so important to you that you are willing to prioritize them over everything else. Because life is so big and there are so many different opportunities and possibilities for each individual that we might simply get lost and confused as to what is it that exactly that we should do with our lives. And I think most people will remain in this chaotic state of mind or even confused state of mind, because on the one hand, there are I like to call them shoulds, that we should do certain things in order to satisfy our needs, which is fair enough. Obviously, we have to make sure that we eat, that we sleep, and so on and so forth. But there's this distinction between what you should do and you must do, and something that you want to do, something that you desire to do, something that maybe even lies beyond your desire, something that you are compelled to do, or maybe even inspired to do for no particular reason. So again, that depends on individual and the approach they take to their life, and obviously their personality style and how they function and reason about the world. So I think that's something to consider as well, as to whether things we desire might be something that we don't necessarily do because we want to, but we feel this maybe even kind of mysterious power or a creative urge or inspiration to pursue because it seems so important for us. It brings us so much meaning and purpose to life that we are willing to prioritize it over everything else and just go for it. So, in conclusion, finding out what you want takes time. It doesn't happen just overnight. And there are different approaches to answering these questions. Some people might first prefer to define what they don't want because it's then much easier to spot different conflicts between their own values and what they find important and their own experiences. Other people might prefer to start from defining their own values and what kind of brings meaning to their life. And some other people might simply follow this creative urge or inspiration in a way to do things that they value as being important. So I think that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.